this is what we did back then, and let's give homage to somebody that obviously deserved it, or this letter would have never been written. And I asked council, I don't know how much a sign would cost, or if Mr. Rogers would be willing to make a sign. You guys, Joey, you're good at that, and then Jason, I don't know how big of a sign you'd want,
But nothing that would diminish from the appearance of the field, or the setting.
No,
Something
but just,
classy, small,
right,
bronze,
something
you know,
that
not-
you go there and say, hey, this is William W. Knight Memorial Field. And
But you
Joey
do that
and
on the
Jason will know
dedicated
better
in,
than
right.
I.
I
I
talked to
think 1987.
Jim Janison painted that, and I talked to him about painting that on the thing, and just the way it's corrugated in there, you
Yeah.
can't, it wouldn't look right, it would just junk it up. Well, it was like sign creators, let's go to the sign creators and ask them what they think we could incorporate in there, and do we have to bolt it on the building, or could we bolt it somewhere else, maybe walking into the complex or something, where people see it right away all the time, rather than hanging it on a fence or something. I don't
Is
think
there a way
that's,
that it can be maybe?
Whatever.
something
You know how
classy.
at PNC, they have an advertisement, but it rolls, but as a way, maybe behind home plate.
Wherever.
something,
You
yeah,
know,
something
behind home plate where it's seen.
on both sides. Well, you don't want the, fielders won't be able to see it.
Yeah, sure.
On the entrance.
Yeah, on both sides of the entrance.
Right in the
Yeah, on
end.
the sidewalk, where they come in.
Right, when they come in on both sides,
Probably more
Just on
so
one side, just like
down
before?
there, yeah.
that's where we should do, and everyone sees where you're walking into.
Up by the concession
Well,
stand.
he has the memorial there, obviously, that they're going to put.
Right.
And which, you know, it's fine, but putting some kind of a,
We can get multiple signs possibly, one so when people ride down the road, they see it as well.
whatever council wishes, I just, you know, this is a request of mine to identify it, because people out of town ought to know where William W. Knight Park is besides Westfield, instead of calling it, excuse me, Still Valley Stadium, which, you know, I'm not getting it ready for.
Or Westfield.
Someone puts $5 into a field, they should have something to say about naming.
He dedicated that field Troutman to Pappy Constable, and I never heard you once call it Pappy Constable
Never.
Field.
We tried for about
Right, Bob?
5 years ago, but it never happened.
That's all right.
He was a wonderful human being.
And Peterson couldn't get Pittsburgh either.
Well, Pappy was out there teaching you guys how to slide at age 85.
With a cigar in his mouth.
With a cigar.
Right, Brum?
I loved it.
Okay, so we've covered,
I'm done, Rob.
You got summer help for both.
summer help for Boomer we're talking about. Boomer and I talked about this last week. Summer is a busy time for him. If Boomer wants to take a summer vacation, he has trouble getting time off, and the place is left vacant. And how could you use summer help, Boomer? Can you, I know they would need a car of their own. of course.
Yeah, the only thing, yeah, I mean, for summer help, they'd have to have their car, another computer, another phone. There would be added cost.
But isn't every policeman, in fact, a code enforcement officer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So,
What they're trying to say is go take a vacation, we'll put a policeman.
don't ever deny yourself vacation, never.
It's hard when I go on vacation, when I come back, I have like 90 phone calls.
Yeah.
Return, and it's,
Or you're not the
There's
only
some stuff
one.
we can handle, but the building stuff,
yeah.
you know, that's where he, we don't do like building codes,
But I mean, no,
We'll
I was
do
thinking,
additions.
What I could probably do
Stuff
if council
like
would
that,
okay, if I do
windows.
go away on vacation, John McCaffrey, he trained me. He may be willing to come in a night or 2 nights to, you know,
If something comes up that needs
Right.
attention, I think that makes sense.
And he's a local guy, lives in West Homestead, I'm sure I could talk to him and he would say, yeah, and we could maybe pay him $30 an hour.
I think we could probably look at that for not just, even when you get backed up or something, that if we can do something like that where we're just contracting them out for.
As periods.
well, what I was originally thinking of more, Boomer, was somebody that you could use in the office to send letters out, and rather than the
Now, we did just hire 2 more young ladies, now, and
So that-
and we're gonna be well-staffed
Right.
once we get our manager on board,
Yeah,
so.
I can give them a lot more work.
Right.
I think right now you have a lot more other things to
Okay.
concern yourself with, but it was a nice idea, I mean, even better.
Yeah, I'm just was thinking about
We
it.
have-
Right,
we
with
have
the
a lot more
added
things.
cost.
I like the idea with,
Yeah.
you know, calling in someone hourly if we need it.
Yeah, maybe I'll call John McCaffrey, I'm sure he'll be.
Well, that frees you up to do, you know, what you're hired to do and more, and we can get more revenue out of things too, whether fines or however we gotta do things. More people catching people without permits and different things like that, that can pay for itself. Right?
I mean, Homestead has a full-time and a part-time, we're gonna be hiring another part-timer, they're a third of our size.
We've been down 2/3 more buildings than the rest too.
Yeah, but Homestead, don't forget, is part of the enterprise zone,
Right.
over West Homestead, and they get one hell of a lot more calls than we would as far as buildings and
Right.
that stuff goes on.
And I would think some of the personnel that we're talking about, works assigning, I would say, you know, 1 or 2, you know, to do menial tasks that
Right.
you require to enforce the code, like high weeds and stuff, then he could assign 1 or 2 of those people to you
Yeah.
for a week.
Right, we'll work somehow.
I'm sure you guys will do it.
Thanks for thinking agenda, I think we pretty much covered. We did talk at, you know, good length about the Parks and Recs person for field scheduling, and the person that we'll need to put on here, you know, we have to figure out whether it is gonna have to be a union position, because they basically won't manage anybody, or if, you know, we have to, I guess we're gonna have to talk, if this is a union person, we'll have to talk to John Winters, I guess, the union rep for the Public Works. We'll see what we'd have to do on that. But we did talk about that a good, does anybody else have anything to add on that? We did talk a good bit about it. The grants writer, Carol Shreve was, at a meeting here last week when the cemetery people were here. And, she recommended this woman, if, you know, about going after grants, could help us out, that maybe we should talk to her. Catherine Hart. Does anyone know Catherine here? I think it's worth making a phone call to her.
She said that she's
I
very
can make a
knowledgeable
phone call
about
to her.
municipalities, and she's done
Yeah,
a lot.
people that write grants, they write in their own salary too.
Right,
And if the grant goes through, they get paid.
yeah.
See, you know what, someone just said that they can't do that anymore, you have to pay them hourly or something.
Carol,
Someone
yeah,
just
Carol
told me.
told
Is that so?
Because Carol told me that, I was under the impression that they got a percentage of
I always
the
was too,
grant.
Yeah.
And she said that the state law has changed and they cannot do that anymore, that we have to pay them an hourly or we pay them on retainer. But that this lady is really good and does all the municipality stuff, and she's gotten them at the library a lot of grants that otherwise they probably would not have gotten.
But could we then bill the grant for whatever we paid her hourly?
Oh, I don't know, I'm not sure about that, I don't write grants enough, I don't know enough about grants.
And I'm surprised if that's the case.
I was too.
How are we finding these grants? I wrote a grant for, Munhall Youth Baseball League when we did that backstop, we got the money from Jay Costa, remember?
Yeah.
And, the hard part isn't writing the grant all the time, it's finding the grants
Right.
that you need to write.
That's what she said, the same thing.
And then once you write 1 or 2, you have all the information at your fingertips of what you gotta put in each square, or each block, so it's not that difficult. The hard part is coming up with the information what you need, but that should be, by law, that should be at our fingertips right now. But I think we went to the local government academy, they told us there's resources out there that'll tell you what grants to get. And Bob asked if we want to get a grant. Well, to me, we should be saying we got more grants to write, and we got more grants that we can vote on, not do we want to get a grant.
Right, we're writing none right now, if we write 15 and we got 5, we've got 5
From what I'm
we're
hearing from
writing.
Joe,
We can get 2 police cars a year, and we're paying
well,
monthly payments for cars.
I agree.
actually you can't,
Nothing.
you can't get police cars, because, correct me if I'm wrong, chief, that's a budgeted item.
But,
And if it's in your budget, you can't take it out of your budget.
but
and do a grant.
Homestead got cars.
I don't believe, unless you're gonna get new
Well, no,
more
no,
cars.
that's regarding the asset forfeiture money.
Yeah, that's
If we couldn't supplant that,
They can get-
that's against the law.
They can get
But if
vests
there's a
every
grant,
year,
we get a
but
grant,
we're
we
paying
can
$925 for
Right.
vests for their guys, and we can get vests for them, but we're writing no grants.
At this time, maybe we need to hold this grant thing off until we get a manager in place then, and I'm a little bit from Joe, that maybe until we get a manager in place, and maybe hold this off just a little bit.
We have an officer we sent to a grant writer.
Leon can write grants for, help us out with grants too.
And I think that makes sense, the police could look at the grants and see what ones they want to go for. Boom, anything we get under code enforcement, you're probably running across emails or something like that, or you may be able to get on a website where they send you emails and say, here's this grant, here's that grant. And we're not saying you write it yourself, but bring it to us so we can help it.
There's not really.
Some of them are.
A lot
No,
of
but,
them,
yeah, well, too.
a lot of them grants, they're due like now, you know.
Well,
Yeah, some of them we missed the rest of the year, but.
We met
I went on
with
the
the
Pennsylvania
DEP,
Boroughs Association one day,
Last
and there's a
2 weeks
laundry
ago?
list of every, you can get
2 weeks ago, you know, the DEP.
Upper Street, well, you can get anything.
We got $26,000 owed to us for back recycling, but we have to change some kind of wording in our code.
Yeah.
And Bob Caden was in the process of doing this. But if we could have done this, we still could do this, but there's $26,000 out there that we're owed.
Yeah.
if we get that as a priority, because
Yeah.
it seems like we're paying penalty on the
Plus-
penalty, and we're not taking advantage of it.
She told us we could get a recycling truck and the state will pay 90%.
Oh, wow.
That's something, that's
So we gotta
priority.
update our code, which would only take a couple of
Could you-
months to update the code.
Like
Could
one
you pick
week,
up the
one
ball?
night.
Okay, Greg.
I saw that email from Bob Callen, it's a recycling ordinance, he sent me an email, and he met with these people from DEP, they suggested changes that we needed to implement. So I asked him to email me the existing recycling ordinance, which he did. I then took the information that he described, the DEP people said, that Bob's talking about, and I drafted an amendment to existing ordinance so to get this done. I then tracked the email addresses of the DEP people that he met with, and I already sent this to them, and I said, here's what I have done, consistent with what the manager, the former manager, told me. You said we need to move this forward, and I'm waiting to hear back, so it's already underway, and this is the amended ordinance, I haven't heard back yet, so. I was gonna report on it next week, but now you know.
Like next year, we could go for a grant for a new truck for recycling. We only have to pay 10% of it.
Now, here's one other, source, and that would be your call. Ann Lewis writes all kind of grants, and, when I sit there and I look over, our minutes and all, and all these towns that are applying for this and all that, Munhall ain't applying for shit. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I spoke-
Munhall ain't applying for nothing, he might have applied for vests.
I spoke with Ann today, and she said that, I guess when they merged the two cogs, they agreed, it's a $300 flat fee if you want the cog to handle it, which is probably cheaper than.
A grant writer.
Right.
But the thing is, you have things like this tourism, fund there that is through Senator Costa and all that too. There's money out there, but we ain't got nobody here, and I told Bob about this, I don't know how long ago, but regardless, I mentioned it on the call, well, he thinks I'm promoting Barry Bodner or something, I think, I'm promoting, whatever gets us money. So, you know, this is something we gotta follow up on. You talk to Ann, and, we get a new guy in here, stay on top of it, and I'll be breathing down there next year.
Yeah, well, but you should.
What's that?
So are we basically saying that the COG would be writing the grants for us?
They could,
They
If
could?
you wanted to.
they could if you request them to. Like I say, all I hear from different communities is this tourism money, and, that's through the Senate.
I think we need to find the grants, get them written. If we can't write them in-house, then we farm them out to the COG or to this, and Hart, or Catherine Hart, or whatever, but as long as we're on top of them, and they're not, Bob's not saying there's one we can get, or Boomer's saying we can get one, and then it doesn't get any further. And that's what I'm hearing, that's what happened, there was these grants out there, they never went any further, they should be prioritized. If you couldn't write them, we should have sent them to the cog.
Well, is there a list of grants available?
Yeah, that's what we were saying, they told us that you can go on a couple websites.
I went on the Pennsylvania Boroughs Association website today. There's a laundry list of grants from body cameras to vehicles to Main Street beautification to anything you can name.
You know, there
There's
was.
federal grants,
right.
there's state grants, there's private grants.
There was also, on this local government academy, we went on there, we had to take tests, and do this stuff, but on there, there's like newsletters, and they'll tell you some of that information. No, I haven't been on this since I graduated.
Did you flunk?
No,
Valedictorian.
Bella,
The Jason's valedictorian.
I was cum laude.
Cum lousy.
Jason won a lot. You
Won a lot.
beat her all the time, right, Jason?
Yeah, and I was cursing at Tom.
I'm sure you're getting these webinars that, are coming through, and who is this Larimer? That's all I get every day.
Well, Mayor, to answer that question, I kind of got my accreditations through webinars where he drove to Cranberry and Reedswood and wherever he went.
But who's Larimer? I keep getting.
Rich, Scott said that you wanted, Rich said you wanted to add something?
I was just saying, I mean, you guys, well, not you all just sitting in this room, but for at least the last decade, in the meetings I always walk into, grants are always seem to be an issue.
They are.
What are the managers of this borough been doing for the last decade? And council members,
What should we ask?
council members keep asking themselves, like, who's responsible for this? If the police chief has a grant that he should bring it to somebody's attention, they get it taken care of. You know COG takes care of grants, go talk to them when a grant's available. Hey, take care of this. It's very easy management. It just seems like nobody, grants aren't hard, like somebody had
They're not
said.
hard.
I've written many of them, federal and state, but you just have to act. If IC needs equipment and you can pay for it, do your job. Have your manager do their job.
Right, that's my
That's what we want to have in the future.
We would ask,
That's our goal
why are we
now.
asking if we're gonna vote on whether we want to get a grant or not?
You don't have time, and sometimes you have 2 weeks to act on a grant.
Right.
And if we don't, and we have 2 weeks and somebody can't get it done, let's give it to the COG at those points. Otherwise, let's see what we have.
Now
and what
the
we have.
task is on this council to move forward on it. Exactly, you're exactly
Here,
right.
here.
Now it's
Why you need a
time
good manager.
to move forward on it. The task is on us to make sure it gets done.
By the right person.
Have all these cameras or anything else you need for that field, look up some grants.
Right, there's probably
That's
other
right.
grants available.
You don't need to be spending $100,000 on grants where you get, like Ravine Street's been rotting away for the past decade, but you're gonna spend $100 grand on the field for security cameras, write a grant.
That's what I was saying, when
Agreed.
and tourism, that could be used for, cameras, stuff like that.
So that should lead you back to our
That would be
discussion
through
of
Senator
measures.
Costa's office. Of course, they don't get nothing.
Go to Pittsburgh too.
Okay, Becky, we covered that Jack Conway thing that came
Yes.
up with other things. Now, at the bottom, we have discussion of ordinances. Is
Yes,
that
great,
for today?
Very
Oh,
good.
that was mine, yeah, I brought this up last month, the authority solicitor asked us to amend a number of different ordinances to assist them with enforcement, mainly with dye testing and stormwater flow into the sanitary sewer lines, things of that nature, and also to delegate them as, with our enforcement power, to go to the magistrate, enforce these ordinances, and prosecute violators, things of that nature. We talked about it, and council indicated that they were agreeable to that. So what I had done is drafted an amendment to all these ordinances in a single ordinance, and which is exactly what the initial memo from their solicitor said. I sent it back over to him, and then he responded, said, well, we kind of thought you'd do brand new ordinances, which so I mean, the ordinances, in any event, I said, well, I'm not doing brand new ordinances, this accomplishes exactly what you said. And then he said, well, two of these things aren't quite ready, how about if we just replace these two ordinances? I said, well, you do it now, I'm not doing any more work, you sent it to me, which he did. And I looked at it and I said, you have to repeal the existing ordinances because we're replacing them. And he just sent me those this morning, so I've looked at them, and it's okay, the bottom line. So we'd be replacing two ordinances we already have, it's 1512 and 1513, and this should be on the agenda for next month. I just sent these, an email with these attachments out, so you'll have a week to take a look at them. But essentially, 15, they're both dealing with, obviously, sewer, sanitary sewer issues, keeping stormwater out of them, dye testing, legal connections, things of that nature. They're similar, and that's why their numbers are one after the other, because when they were enacted, these were enacted back in, originally in 2006. Mr. DeShawn was the council president, and Mayor Bodmer, of course, was here. So anyway, in any event, they have essentially added some additional requirements, cleaned up some language, and gives the authority more enforcement, and everything else is just repeated. But now they're repealing the old one, we're replacing it with the new. Well, that's what they did, but we're taking the action. So take your time and look at that. I would recommend next week we vote to advertise these, and then the following month we could enact it. That's it.
Thank you. Does anybody else for the good of the body here?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Anything else?
First thing is, what about this, money that, we paid Crump? Is there anything, are we doing anything about it, or are we just gonna let it go? Or
I think we discussed it, we gotta have a drug act on that, correct?
Yeah, here's what I
would
would
pick
say.
it back up, I think we do, right?
Here's what I would suggest, that we discuss, just to refresh everyone's memory on what has been done and what the communications and exchanges were, because this is litigation matter, that we have an executive session, and I can go through the history of where we are, especially because we have 3 new people, and then we can make a decision. You can make a decision and tell me what you want to do next. So can we have an executive session? I have a whole folder on this matter, but I think it would help to review it and bring these 3 up to speed and just refresh everyone else's memory in executive session. If you want to do it next week, that's fine.
Are we going into executive session? I thought.
We are.
I don't have the
a few minutes
folder.
when we go
Oh,
out.
okay.
I don't have that with me. I have to pull it out of my file. But I'll bring it next week, and
Let's put it on.
if you want to discuss it, we'll discuss it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And that for executive. Another?
When we speak on ordinances, can we do anything with the ordinance that limits the space of the house where how many people can live in it?
Well, we probably have some limits in place now. I don't know, according to the International Property Maintenance Code, and Boomer would know better than I, if we want to do more than that, make it more restrictive, we'd have to amend that. But aren't there some limits in there, a number of people per square feet or something?
Property maintenance goes, it's up to BCO to,
It does say that in the International Property Maintenance Code?
it's up to the BCO, but our zoning says 1 per every 50 square foot of living space.
Oh, so, all right, so we do have something. I don't know, if you're not happy with that, we have to change it.
Right. There's 2 things I've asked council about, or in the past to,
Average one house, how many people does that equate to?
my house, I'd have 24 people.
There you go.
My house, I could have 24 people in it.
Living in it, okay?
We also have, yeah, 1 per every 50 square foot living space is outrageous. And the other one is you could have 6 unrelated people living in the same house.
I think that needs change.
Right.
Why don't, here's a suggestion, hey, why don't you take the existing ordinance we have, I mean, this is your area of expertise, and make notes on there, what you think should be changed and what it should be changed to, and give it to council. If they're in agreement, then I'll draft a new ordinance.
Well, I think planning's actually going, I mean, it's actually in our zoning. So I think our planning commission is going through zoning to update it, because like I said, it's 20-something years old.
Well, that's fine, but then maybe you work in conjunction and offer your opinion too, because they don't have the same knowledge you do about those limitations, and you know from experience what you think should be changed.
I mean, some of these places, it's just ridiculous how many people
very hard to prove. When you go to court, they always say they're visiting.
And that's
They're
true.
visitors.
Yeah, they bring their beds with them.
Anything else?
Also, we discussed, we discussed, I know we talked about it up the conference about shirts. You interested in doing that, or how you wanna do it, or?
I am.
Sure,
I think all of us.
Conferences or something.
You tell me what size we, I mean, I can go with the shirts down, right down in Munhall. What's it called?
Expertise.
Uniform place.
Best Buy uniform.
That's by you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna look at just now.
Can you give us a price? I mean, I don't think I've
No,
been
no,
that
no
interested in buying
reasonable
our own.
price.
Oh, I think we should pay for
We
it.
buy our own,
Everybody
pay
pays
for
for
it.
it.
Yeah, let's, let's order what we want.
Right. Well, whoever get a price and let us know, then we'll just give it.
I'll talk to, get them.
Shirts.
Yeah,
Just don't still doing that.
yeah, maybe not. You might not be doing it.
Shirts they have to wear.
Everybody
I
pays
wanna
for
go
it.
to the conferences.
Munhall Borough.
Munhall Borough, Council.
In fact, I wore a suit Thursday, you thought I was an undertaker.
I thought he was gonna be,
I
that's
got
why they
abused.
that's why they overcharged you, they knew you had. I thought he was
I
gonna be
went from
impressed,
work,
everybody
so I
had
figured
speakers, he thought.
I'm wearing a suit and get it cleaned this week.
I thought, you can go either way, that we pay for them, or maybe the borough pay for one, and then if you want extra ones, we have to pay for them ourselves.
I wouldn't buy my own shirt much, man, I'll buy my own shirt.
I think we should borrow.
That's fine, that's fine.
I'll buy myself.
Hard, we could get Munhall Borough sweatpants too.
Give me one with a tie.
We'll email you the order form.
You got that.
Okay.
Anything else? No, we're gonna jump into executive session in a few minutes here. For executive session, can I get a motion for adjourn? Motion.
Second.
RV, T. Adjourn, thank you. And Becky, we're gonna need you to stay for a couple minutes in this executive session
Okay.
also.
Yeah.
Bring up the whole thing just for a little bit.
Chief.
You all right?
Yeah, give it to us, don't make sure you get it
We're gonna have an executive session.
I think it's gonna be ready to motion.
Do you have anything else?
I know we've been told right through my thing. They're only kidding, it's only kidding. Ain't no big deal whatsoever.
I'd rather be there too.
I got my picture that way.
Right, thank you. What they say, 16 miles up there? From here to 7. I think it's a Rick's. Really?
It's like 50 feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got
You're telling me.
But I don't know where you stayed, I don't know. I didn't know where you
It's the same, right?
That's same.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, do you know me? All right, taking a peek.
I got you.
Yeah, we're staying here, we're staying here, guys. Yeah. Stay in the room, no use leaving.
First period. I started at 8:05.
You've been playing with that like for the last 3 days.
I'm gonna get on for
That was done so good.
I better get it done.
There's a number on top of your whiteboard, okay?
Good, thank you.
And you're gonna get the electronic, that way, like, go on the computer and it comes up. It's,
No, that's just wrapping
yeah,
together.
when he brought that up, he started, I love.
Yeah, Lindsay sent me that draft of the advertisement.
Well, that needs to be.
What's up, Tommy Burke? Come on in, Pat.
Okay.
We're having an executive session. You know what's going on. You met Jason. Oh, yeah.
I fill in for him, well, actually, I never fill in for you, I fill in for Condis and Turpac all the time.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they're the ones that miss all the time, he never misses.
I read at church, so I do my shit. I'm a reader. St. Agnes, reading on the 24th, 11 o'clock mass. It's going to be a test. 11 o'clock mass.
Good, how are you?
One minute story. What did they do? We went to St. Agnes. My wife's a contra. She's excited. We were having kids, you know, I never asked. So we go to church. We're having oldest grandsons.
Yeah.
And at that time, we had one St. Patrick's. It was no, 3 were St. Mary's and St. Anne's. And I think the church.
Okay, yeah, he is our next stop. He is our next stop.
He's doing an audit. He needs
And we
confirmation so they can give him the account balance.
So we,
Yes, that's
we're having
exactly.
about 25 people. The Godfather's coming in from Chicago, Timmy's best friend. 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. We have 25 people at St. Mary's. It's raining.
Like we're,
Church isn't
at
open.
the end of every year.
Church is not open.
Right? But you come in and pay the borough $800 at the end of every year to offset the.
So I go, I'm running around because, you know, everybody and I had a car anyway.
We could put that money in our pension account. She said, we should never have that offset money for the MMO.
It's
on
quarter
our general
to
fund.
2.
So
And they're still out in front of St. Mary's. Finally, I went back up to St. Mary's. And I could see, I go down
Paid
there,
out the pension.
and I could see there's a light on.
Yeah,
And
boys,
have her make it out.
we wouldn't have it going to different. Yeah.
Okay.
Boyd.
Long story short, he's going to John, I forgot, comes down.
These are the
2:15
for you.
1 o'clock. Chris is
Mine, and then I'll get ready for mine.
after we went to dinner and all this stuff, Lois and I were at home. He said, this fiasco, she didn't say a word while
I don't know
stuff
that.
was going on. She's up, well, I know what they are. I said, well, where do you want to go? I said, just go in there for 15 minutes. And it's really close.
They only give you
Yeah,
6 days.
yeah, true.
Oh, yeah, that time is long past.
That'd be an interesting
measurement.
Well, as the growth lies.
Yeah.
On the streets, it's far.
Hey, if anybody's interested, there's no score in the first.
I'd love to actually see the second, so let's go.
Well, Father Grosco,
Every
he's
time
mainly
I understand the major boss.
That's right, that's right.
I heard of
they bought it, they're fine.
You know, I mean, from St. Teresa. And Father Coker has come up and had that.
Yeah, sorry.
Dan Sweet.
As far as I.
Best service. I don't
I
want to say they're short, but they're not. All right. 10 minutes, it's done. They're so solid.
Right.
So solid. know what else he does?
That's all been resolved.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I just tried.
Well, I'm mad at Rick because I'm looking, this is 2015, I want to know what to do with that so I can have it.
Yeah, I don't know, I've never thought about this.
I put it, I don't say, hey.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah, I wasn't far, I haven't seen any signed sealed insurance papers yet. Because when you do that, you don't have to go over.
Yeah, and when they make a scene, you know.
Do we vote on it?
Yeah, on the cross, here's how much money Father Sweeney tells them they made on their
That's why he, they're doing it from a different amount now. He just basically catered the inside. I don't know, they, apparently the diocese is going to put a little too much emphasis on that. His, all right, that's enough of that.
His ministry.
Yes. He does have a dedicated staff.
Signature part of the bank, we're not gonna re-sign again because you did, but every time we change something, you have to
All the
re-sign.
restaurants, they.
Oh, here's all vote for that.
Putting Rick right on the back.
The-
This is when they're taking me off.
Straight on the Lord's name.
Just, we open up, there's one on West Street, sign, 11th
I
Avenue.
guess, I think that's.
It's just a house.
So we're not all here and going, what's
I'll
that?
go sit down, I'll get that back to you.
Oh, you gotta get rid of it.
Oh, yeah.
Call me to go, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
We're having an executive session. Oh, I'll start pretty soon.
That's okay.
You finish up with these guys?
He knows everything's going on anyway.
No, we were. We want to call it again.
We do enough of that too, Tom.
Yeah, the next score.
All right, take care, Tom.
Any score?
No score.
0-0.
Who's in?